Fairfax is a popular New York City restaurant that is most famous for their burger, and it's a strange looking burger indeed. However, the burger is often listed as one of the best and most notable in NYC, so I just had to give it a try.
It's a beautiful day today here in New York City. Right now I'm along the Hudson River and I'm just enjoying this nice respite from the freezing cold winter weather that we've been having. Earlier in my day, however, I took care of some very serious business. You see, next week I'll be going on a trip to Vietnam, although by the time this video airs I will probably already be back home. And because of my upcoming trip, I had to address one of my dietary needs, so I had a burger for lunch today. I can't imagine that I will be having many burgers in Vietnam, so I had to get my fill. And I didn't get just any burger. I got a very noteworthy burger in New York City, not just for its quality, but for its appearance. I got the burger from Fairfax, and it is a strange looking burger indeed. It literally looks like someone sat on the burger's bun. Now, I've been intrigued by that burger for a while. You always see it appear on these lists of the best burgers in New York City or the most noteworthy burgers of New York City, and because of its looks, I just had to try it. So I thought today would be the perfect day to make that happen. And with that being said, this was my lunch at Fairfax.
Fairfax is located on a picturesque corner in Greenwich Village. Although there was a bit of construction when I visited, nevertheless, there was still some charm to the location. The restaurant opened in 2017 from restaurateur Gabriel Stolman. Originally, the location was home to the Italian restaurant Perla, but Stolman flipped the establishment to Fairfax, an all-day cafe and wine bar. While I didn't have a reservation, I had no problem grabbing a table when I showed up for lunch at about 5 minutes to 2. Inside, Fairfax is a small, cozy, rustic sort of restaurant with an eclectic mix of decor. Various items, pictures, and paintings seemingly cover every square inch of wall space. Hell, there were even paintings on the ceiling. All in all, I really liked the atmosphere of Fairfax. It was relaxed and comfortable, plus with the variety of decorations, it always felt like my eyes were taking in something new. Once I was settled, I began to explore the menu. Fairfax offers a selection of seasonal American fare with some worldwide influences. It wasn't the largest menu, but the offering sounded good with regards to what the establishment is trying to accomplish. Plus, the restaurant also serves breakfast, brunch, and dinner. Next, I checked out the establishment's beverage selection. Fairfax labels itself as a wine bar, and they've got some interesting bottles, which for New York City at least are on the more affordable side. There's also an interesting wine by the glass selection, but that day I felt like getting a cocktail. I decided to go with the Black Squirrel Old Fashioned, which contained bourbon, cherry herring, maple, and pecan. Old Fashions are one of my go-to cocktails, and that one was particularly satisfying. The beverage was well made and perfectly balanced, but my favorite aspect of the creation was the sweetness and nuttiness of the pecan. Plus, that wasn't a weak drink, as it had a pleasurable hit of alcohol. All in all, that cocktail hit the spot. First up in terms of food was my appetizer, the blood orange salad. The dish contained blood oranges, of course, pistachios, Castelvano olives, mint, and chilies. For me, blood orange is a food that has a special place in my heart. I first had it when I studied abroad in Rome, and nearly every morning I would have blood orange juice as part of my breakfast. That trip proved to be a very special and pivotal point in my life, and as a result, I associate blood oranges with that special first time in Italy. As a result, I instantly gravitated towards that salad when I saw it on the menu. That was a decent appetizer. It was refreshing and tasty. The blood oranges were fresh, vibrant, and juicy, and I liked the textural variety provided by the pistachios. However, I felt that the dish was a little too simplistic and was frankly missing something. I don't quite know what that something could be, but it just felt like I was eating a nice plate of blood oranges topped with some stuff. Still, I did enjoy that starter, but I felt that it could have been pushed a bit further as a dish. Next up was the main event, the burger. On the menu, the dish is labeled as the burger from Bar Sardine. Bar Sardine was another of Stallman's restaurants. Unfortunately, it sadly shut its doors in 2020, but its famous burger lives on at Fairfax. The burger contains barbecue mayo, cheddar, crispy potatoes, and red onions. Visually, it's a good-looking burger, but the smashed top of the bun makes it truly stand out, and I was curious if that actually made a difference in terms of its overall profile. As a result, I eagerly dove in to take my first bite. Now that was a satisfying burger. First off, let's consider the meat. Fairfax uses a thick beef patty that's probably around 8 ounces or so. The meat was juicy and flavorful, but I did ask for it to be cooked to a medium rare, and it was unfortunately a bit on the medium side. Nevertheless, it was still a good beef patty, and it interacted with the other elements of the creation very well. The burger had an overall savory profile with a slight touch of sweetness coming from the red onions and barbecue mayo. I particularly liked the crispy potatoes, which added a nice crunch and thus some fine textural variety.
How's that burger taste?
Oh, it's pretty good. Really hits the spot.
Glad you're enjoying it.
Thank you.
Combined with the cheddar cheese and pickles, that was a nicely composed burger, albeit a messy one, but the bun did its job, and that's quite a fascinating bun. Besides its unique appearance, I didn't feel that the flattened top bun really added anything in terms of flavor or texture, but it was still a good bun. Overall, I felt that that burger partially lived up to the hype. I feel that it gets a lot of its attention solely for its fascinating appearance, but at the end of the day, it was still a satisfying burger. Out of 10, I would give it a 7.9, although if it was cooked to a proper medium rare, I probably would have scored it slightly higher. Paired with my burger, I got a side of Old Bay tots, which I had to order separately. Fairfax also serves fries, even though they're not listed on the menu. While French fries are my go-to burger side, the tots sounded good and felt like more of a specialty of the restaurant, so I gave them a go, and I'm glad I did. Those tater tots were excellent. They were perfectly cooked with a pillowy, fluffy center and a slightly crispy exterior. I particularly liked the Old Bay seasoning on the tots, which gave them a great flavor, but having ketchup on the side was nice as well. Overall, those tots were great and an addicting side dish. They were just so craveable. Together with my burger, that was a truly satisfying lunch, but of course, I still saved room for dessert. Fairfax doesn't seem to have a printed dessert menu, rather my server verbally informed me of the two offerings, which included a blood orange pavlova and a banana pudding tiramisu, which was what I got. The pavlova sounded great, but considering I had blood oranges with my appetizer, the tiramisu seemed like the better option for that day, and it looked good. That was indeed an enjoyable dessert. I really liked it. I'm particularly fond of both banana pudding and tiramisu. Combining the two felt like a natural fit since they're both creamy concoctions. It really comes down to a question of balance, and I thought that the restaurant did a great job of working the two flavor profiles of those desserts into one. It was creamy and rich and felt just as much a banana pudding as it was a tiramisu. To sum it up, that sweet treat proved to be the perfect ending to a satisfying meal. After finishing, it was time for the bill, which totaled to $84.94, but with my tip, I spent about $101. Value-wise, I thought that that lunch was pretty fair for New York City.
So that was a solid burger indeed, and overall a very enjoyable lunch. First off, let's discuss the burger, and I definitely thought it was a good one, but not exactly top tier. I feel like a good amount of the hype surrounding the burger is due to its unique appearance. The whole crushed bun thing definitely made it look interesting, but I didn't think it contributed too much in terms of the overall flavor profile and texture of the burger. Still, I always appreciate a place that does something a little different, and that was different. At the end of the day, however, that proved to be a very satisfying and enjoyable burger. If you're a burger fan, that is definitely one worth getting. Plus, I also appreciated that it was only 20 bucks. Even though it didn't come with fries, it was still a bit more affordable than a lot of these other burgers out there, which seem to always start at around 30 bucks these days. In terms of the other food and the overall vibe of Fairfax, I think it's a pretty good restaurant, and it's a place that I would go back to, not necessarily for the burger, but for a lot of the other stuff they have on their menu. It just seems like a very warm and welcoming neighborhood spot with a good menu of well-prepared and interesting food. To sum it up, Fairfax serves a very interesting and unique looking burger that's very good, but not necessarily a top tier burger. I think overall, Fairfax is a very good restaurant and one that I will certainly be returning to.